So greetings, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you about what I have coined intensive caring. And I would like to spend the next 10 minutes talking about the essence of intensive caring, what it is, and why it might be meaningful to you in your practice. The idea really harkens back to Dame Cicely Saunders, and all of you recognize Dame Saunders was the founder of the modern hospice movement. This was a photograph that was taken of Dame Saunders, or Dame Cicely and myself, way back in the day when I had my first chance to actually speak at St. Christopher's Hospice. Dame Saunders, or Dame Cicely, I should say, was had trained as a social worker, as a nurse, as a physician, really, I think, embodying this multidisciplinary approach that was necessary if we were going to understand how to deal with whole person care. And this particular painting by Robert Pope, who is an artist from Eastern Canada, I think really depicts what I think about when I discuss issues pertaining to suffering. And that is, you see somebody floating precariously on the water's surface and thinking about the things that might pull someone under as opposed to the forces that keep someone buoyant. And those are the things I think we need to be thinking about if we're going to be attending to patients who are suffering. One of the things, of course, that causes profound patient suffering is feeling that personhood hasn't been acknowledged. Medicine is very transactional in its nature, and objectively and from the outside, we think about pathophysiology, physiology, diagnosis, differential diagnosis, problem checklists, and at the center of it all is still a patient needing, wanting, yearning to be seen. The writings of people like Eric Cassell, who is a wonderful American internist who wrote a very famous paper in the New England Journal about the nature of suffering. Patients suffer when they feel that personhood is under threat of disintegration, and not being seen, not being acknowledged as a person is in fact one of those threats. So thinking about Dame Cicely, as she said, you matter because you are you, and you matter to the end of your life. We will do all that we can not only to help you die peacefully, but also to help you live until you die. So I began thinking about that famous adage, and it really is the foundational piece of hospice palliative care, this idea of you matter because you are you. But how do we invoke care for people that reaffirms indeed that they do matter? When people are in dire straits physically, we give them intensive care. But what if people are suffering? What if people are feeling helpless, hopeless, worthless? The nature of their distress isn't necessarily physical. And that's where the idea of providing intensive caring came to me. And so let me walk you through, in the few minutes that we have together, what the core tenets of intensive caring are comprised of. The first is non-abandonment. We need to show up for our patients. The dynamics of abandonment in palliative care, in medicine writ large, is a feeling of helplessness. I don't know what to do. I don't necessarily have a way of fixing whatever ails you, and therefore I abandon or I withdraw. The first tenet is a commitment to non-abandonment, which means forming a quality connection and ongoing support. Dame Cicely also said, by the way, that suffering is only intolerable when no one cares. So showing up is the first thing we need to make a commitment to. The second thing is taking an interest in who that individual is as a person. That will enhance empathy, respect, connectedness, and affirm who they are, who they were, or who they try to be. So by listening, by acknowledging personhood, we are affirming the value of that individual. In my work, we have explored various ways of trying to put personhood on the radar. Dignity therapy is a generativity or legacy-based intervention in which we guide people through a conversation that allows them to create a lasting legacy. There are now scores of studies, over a dozen systematic reviews affirming the benefits of dignity therapy, which allows people then to engage in a conversation that is recorded, transcribed, and returned to the patient. So in essence, their legacy will transcend even the event of their death. And the patient dignity question, in a very simple way, ask people, what should I know about you as a person to take the best care of you possible? This has been studied. We studied it in hundreds of patients. The literature now contains thousands of patients who've participated in responses to this question, and we've shown that it heightens sense of connectedness between the patient and the healthcare provider. It enhances empathy and respect, and patients feel that allows them to be seen as a whole person. Next, intensive caring consists of therapeutic presence, reminding ourselves that showing up, independent of what we say or do, our presence in and of itself is therapeutic. And the elements of therapeutic presence is comprised of compassion, respect, genuine and authentic presence, being trustworthy and being fully present, valuing the worth of the patient, and of course, being mindful of boundaries and emotional resilience. The next tenet of intensive caring is knowing what is possible, or containing hope. Those of us who work in palliative care understand that there are many things that are still possible for patients to achieve, to engage in a meaningful way, even while life is coming to a close. I recently interviewed a gentleman who actually had been approved for medical assistance in dying. And when I asked him, what was the motivation? How did you come to this decision? What he ended up telling me is that he was not going to die the kind of death that his grandmother died. And I asked, well, how long ago was that? It turns out that that was 30 years ago. For 30 years, he had carried this template inside of his head, this roadmap, if you will, of what dying looks like. So the fact is that if nothing else, patients who are near the end of life, they are providing a template for those who bear witness and really shaping the way that those individuals who survive that death will eventually face their own death. So knowing what is possible is an important tenet of intensive caring. And then finally, therapeutic humility. That is tolerating clinical ambiguity, accepting and honoring the patient's expertise, trusting in the process, and avoiding the need to fix. The article states, and this article, by the way, was published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. And for those of you who find my words interesting, even though this is a very quick gloss over of what the article contains, it is available open access online. Just look up Intensive Caring, Chochinov, the Journal of Clinical Oncology. And it states about therapeutic humility that it sees notions of fixing yield to a commitment to understand the nature of the patient's suffering while creating a safe space to bear witness, to validate, and to comfort always. So in some ways, in summary, intensive caring is really a shift in the medical paradigm. The traditional medical paradigm says we examine, we diagnose, and we fix. Any of us who have lived long enough, any of us who've worked in practice in medicine long enough, know that not everything lends itself to that traditional paradigm. And so if we are dealing with patients whose suffering indeed is beyond the grasp of being fixable, we need to think about examination yielding to who is this person? Diagnosis in intensive caring yields to understanding the nature of their suffering. And finally, fix really needs to yield to this idea of showing up, providing comfort, and being with. The article ends, as my comments will end, by saying that it's been more than 50 years since Dame Cicely wisdom informed this clinical approach, and decades later, when medicine's reach to fix exceeds its grasp, the time to consider the role of intensive caring is now. And so that is what I would like to tell you and leave you with respect to intensive caring. These are some of the books that I've published over the years. Dignity Therapy, Dignity in Care, the human side of medicine, and later this month, a new book is coming out called In Search of Dignity, A Lifetime of Reflections. For those of you who would like to pursue this conversation further, this is how to get hold of me, my email address, Twitter, LinkedIn, and those are a couple of websites that I also am in charge of, Dignity in Care, and as well one of the founders of the Canadian Virtual Hospice. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the privilege of being able to address you, and I wish you well.